we've already uncovered Pokemon's forbidden myths, from Giratina's exile to cursed spirits like Yamisk and Bennett. But tonight we turn to legends far older, ones that shaped the very balance of the natural world. You may know them as Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, the legendary birds of Kanto. To most players, they're rare, powerful, and iconic. But what if I told you these birds aren't just Pokémon? They're gods of nature, forces of balance, and perhaps even omens of destruction. Because when you peel back the layers, the legendary birds stop being just rare Pokémon and start looking like elemental deities with a terrifying origin story. The story of the legendary birds begins in Kanto, the first region we ever explored in Pokémon Red and Blue. These weren't just random creatures sprinkled into the world. They were deliberately placed as guardians of isolated, almost unreachable places. Articuno, the freeze Pokémon, roosts deep in the Seafoam Islands, a frozen labyrinth that feels more like a natural prison than a home. Zapdos, the electric Pokémon, lives in the heart of the power plant, where man's technology meets wild, uncontrollable energy. And Moltres, the flame Pokémon, waits on the road to victory, a trial by fire for only the strongest trainers. Each bird was given not just power, but context. Their locations weren't random. They symbolized nature's raw elements, ice, lightning, and fire, placed at the boundaries of civilization. And early Pokédex entries only added to their mythical status. Articuno is said to appear to doomed travelers in blizzards, almost as a ghostly omen. Zapdos was feared as a creature that brings violent thunderstorms. And Moltres, the embodiment of fire, was said to herald spring by igniting flames across the land. Even their names carry a secret. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, uno, dos, tres, Spanish for 1, 2, 3. The very first legendary trio, named not just as Pokémon, but as a countdown. But if these three birds are a countdown, what are they counting down to? What makes the legendary birds so fascinating isn't just their strength in battle, it's what they represent. Articuno embodies winter itself. Its wings are said to shimmer with icy crystals, and legends claim that when it flies, snow begins to fall. But Articuno isn't just a pretty sight, it's a death omen. According to early lore, seeing it in a blizzard meant you were already too far gone to be saved. Zapdos is more than electricity. It's the storm itself. Some Pokédex entries describe it as living inside thunderclouds, appearing only when lightning splits the sky. Unlike most Pokémon, Zapdos doesn't just use lightning. It creates it, a god of sudden chaos, feared not just by humans, but even by other birds. Moltres embodies the destructive and renewing nature of fire. In some Pokédex versions, it's said to bring an early spring by spreading flames that allow plants to regrow. But the cost of this rebirth is fire, wild, uncontrollable, devastating. To see Moltres is to see both destruction and the possibility of renewal. In many ways, these three aren't just Pokémon. They're the personification of natural disasters. Ice storms, lightning strikes, wildfires, forces humans have feared since ancient times. And yet, in the Pokémon world, we try to capture them. And if the legendary birds represent nature's fury, what happens when humans try to control all three at once? Here's where the mythology deepens. While each bird rules its own element, together they form a dangerous imbalance. According to the Pokémon 2000 movie, if the three legendary birds are disturbed, their fighting can throw the entire world into chaos. Their combined storms can freeze seas, scorch lands, and split the sky with endless lightning. And it's here we meet Lugia, the so-called guardian of the sea. Lugia doesn't rule over fire, ice, or lightning. Instead, it represents balance itself. In the lore, Lugia only emerges when the birds are in conflict, its voice calming their fury, restoring order to nature. But think about what that means. Lugia is less a legendary bird, and more a god of equilibrium. Its existence only matters because the three birds exist in opposition. Without Lugia, their power could destroy the planet. That's why some fans believe Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres aren't just Pokémon. They're avatars of primal chaos, and Lugia, the last fail-safe left to keep them from ending everything. And if Lugia is the only thing standing between balance and chaos, what happens if it ever falls? When you step back, the legendary birds don't just feel like Pokémon. They feel like echoes of myths humanity has told for thousands of years. In Greek mythology, storms were said to be unleashed by Zeus, his thunderbolts striking fear into mortals. Zapdos, the Stormbringer, mirrors this almost perfectly. Articuno recalls the Norse myths of Ymir, the frost giant whose icy body represented death and chaos. It also reflects the way many cultures saw snowstorms as omens of divine punishment. Moltres, the fiery bird, is almost a direct mirror of the phoenix, a creature that burns in flames only to rise again, symbolizing both destruction and rebirth. And together they form a trinity, three powers that cannot coexist peacefully without a mediator. In many religions and myths, trinities represent balance, creation, destruction, and preservation. Here, that role falls to Lugia, who calms their chaos. In other words, the legendary birds aren't just a trio of Pokémon. They're an elemental mythology, written in code and pixels, but echoing the same ancient fears and beliefs humanity has always had. And if Pokémon is secretly echoing myths this old, what else is hidden in plain sight? So far, we've seen how the legendary birds aren't just rare encounters in Kanto. They're elemental gods of ice, fire, and lightning. We've uncovered their power to shape storms, their dangerous imbalance, and Lugia's role as the one force that keeps them from destroying everything. And when you look closer, their roots stretch back into ancient mythology. Storm gods, frost giants, and phoenixes. Maybe Nintendo intended them to be nothing more than rare Pokémon. Or maybe, just like Giratina, Darkrai, and Yamisk before them, the legendary birds are yet another piece of forbidden Pokémon lore. A mythology hidden in plain sight. What do you think? Were the legendary birds designed as elemental gods from the very beginning? Or are we reading too much into the legends? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into the hidden stories of Pokemon, don't forget to subscribe. This was episode 3 of Pokemon's darkest lore, and trust me, we're just getting started.